kind of what we do. So we are a party program provider, and we essentially help students get overseas to study. Not only do we do semester year abroad programs, but we also do full degree programs. So that's really exciting that you're here to learn a little more about the University of New South Wales science programs. So we've been sending students for nearly 25 years overseas, and we have been appointed by top-ranked universities like the University of New South Wales to help you through this process. So we'll assist you with the enrollment process, applying for your program, and then once you receive an offer, we'll help you accept your offer and ultimately apply for your visa. So again, in addition to helping you apply for your program, we are here to answer questions. So the nice thing is that we have an office both in Denver, Colorado, and also Toronto, Canada. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're able to meet with you when we can, and then also connect with you over the phone, over Skype, and over email. So you don't have to worry about calling Australia or New Zealand. We are able to certify academic transcripts, which is great because a lot of students will actually apply to multiple programs. So when they do apply to multiple programs, we're able to just have them send one set of transcripts, and then we can kind of certify everything and send all of your completed applications to the universities. We are able to obtain application fee waivers. So the waivers are nice because it does save you a little bit, especially when you do apply for multiple universities. And so we're lucky enough that the University of New South Wales has agreed to application fee waivers for all of our students applying to any of their programs. And I think one of the most exciting things that GlobaLinks has to offer is our in-country orientation. This in-country orientation is called the Bridging Cultures Orientation Program. It's typically about 4 to 6 days in length, and the nice thing is that it's an interesting location, exciting excursions. So for example, in Australia, we actually send students up to the Great Barrier Reef. So the cool thing is that you'll get to go up to the Great Barrier Reef, meet some other students, and a lot of times we are able to place you in an orientation program with other UNSW students, for example. So this is a great opportunity for you to network and just meet potential friends. The orientation sessions are great. They are there to help you adapt to your new country, not only culturally and socially, but also academically. And the nice thing is when you do apply through GlobaLinks, we are able to provide this service to you for free. So that's kind of everything that I wanted to talk about GlobaLinks. Again, we are here to assist you through the application process, provide you these types of resources like this webinar so that you can find the best program for you. So we'll be sending you a follow-up email after this webinar to kind of say thanks for attending and provide you any applications and provide you a way to ask any questions of us. So we will do a question and answer at the end of the webinar. In your GoToWebinar box, there's a space to type in questions. So definitely type in some questions while you think of them, and we'll answer them at the end. But for now, I'm going to hand it over to Ashley, who is going to tell us a little bit about the University of New South Wales. Thank you, Ashley.
Hi everyone, I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about UNSW and a little bit of information just so you know who I am. I'm based in Washington, D.C. area for UNSW, and my role is to help students from the U.S. and Canada that are interested in going to Australia. So I'm happy to answer any program questions. It's just helpful to have somebody in the same time zone. I personally studied abroad and did my master's in Australia, so I'm very familiar with the student experience and what it's like to live in Australia, which is excellent, or I wouldn't still be in this role and working for Australia. So just to give you a little bit about us, thanks Kim. We're located in Sydney, Australia, a dynamic and safe city, about 5 million people in a country of 25 million overall. So it's a large city, but that does cover a very broad area, lots of different suburbs, and we'll talk a little bit about our location specifically. Sydney is Australia's financial capital, and it is known for being very global and very multicultural. About one out of 2 Sydneysiders have a parent born overseas, so it's a lot of people from all over the world, so that makes it for lots of festivals and food and culture and activities to go out and enjoy. Next slide, please. So to give you an overview of our campus, we're about, sorry, the slide didn't quite work. The bottom of the right arrow is our campus, Kensington, in the eastern suburbs, and the arrow pointing to the top is the CBD, the Central Business District of Sydney, and gets you up to the harbor, which is, of course, the famous Opera House. Go to the next slide. Oh, go ahead and hit it a couple times, and there we go. So you can see that we're about 15 minutes to the airport, if you don't mind going back for a second. About 15 minutes to the airport. There's that Central Business District, and we also have our design campus, Paddington, which is in the arts area, a little bit closer to the CBD. Go ahead. So just to give you a view, we're about 5 minutes by bus to Coogee Beach, or a 20-minute walk from campus. So a lovely location, as well as being, go ahead, as I mentioned, really close to the Sydney Opera House, about 20 minutes by bus to go out and explore and see all that wonderful stuff in that area. And also go ahead next to 20 minutes to the world famous Bondi Beach, which I'm sure you've seen celebrities at, and I think even some of the TV shows have made it over to North America based there. So to tell you a little bit more about UNSW as a university, we were officially established in 1949, but our roots go back to the Sydney Mechanical Institute in 1843. So while we're a relatively young university, we've grown to be one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and I'll get into that part a little bit more moving on. But we have about 55,000 students overall, and about a quarter of those students are international. So this means that you're going to be meeting students from all over the world, about 120 different countries. So it makes your class discussion really interesting, as people are going to be bringing in views from their actual personal experiences, and it'll really help the full experience. That also leads to a very diverse alumni network, about 275,000 all over the world. Go ahead. UNSW is a founding member of the Group of 8, which are the top 8 research-intensive universities in Australia, and this kind of gives you their names and locations. And the next slide kind of just demonstrates a little bit about what the Group of 8 is. We like to explain it to North American students as being kind of the equivalent to the Australian Ivy League. And you can just kind of see from this that overall world rankings, the Group of 8 kind of maintain a higher standard across the board than the other Australian universities. So these are really the top performing universities across the board. But one of the other rankings that we're most proud of is our 2014 Hobson's Good Universities Guides, and you can see how we compare to some of the other universities. UNSW has all 4s and 5s, unlike any of the other universities, in areas such as student demand, starting salary, which is a huge one. We have the highest starting median salary for our postgraduates of any other university in Australia. Getting a full-time job, positive outcomes, obviously all things that are very important to you as you're considering your postgraduate degrees. So some of our other rankings that we're quite proud of. The QS University rankings, we're 52nd in the world, and first in the world with QS to have the prestigious 5-Star Plus Award for Excellence, which covers a wide range of things such as learning and teaching and facilities and student experience in a wide range. We're also first in Australia for producing millionaires, something that we like to brag about these days. We know everybody's hoping to make a little more money as they go along. And 32nd in the world for employer reputation is another important one that we like to talk about. This means that when our graduates finish at UNSW, they're really well prepared for their careers, and the employers are really satisfied with their outcomes. So at that point, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to my colleague Kate to tell you specifically about the science programs that we have at UNSW.
Thank you, Ashley. We're just waiting, Kim's going to pop up the slides for us. My name's Kate. I'm the International Development Manager at the Faculty of Science here at UNSW. Today I'm going to tell you a few things about the suite of postgraduate programs we have available, also some of the research that we do, and a general introduction to the faculty itself. If you just want to move to the next slide, thanks, Kim. Excellent. So we're quite a diverse faculty. We have some interesting areas that many people wouldn't perceive to be based in science. One of those is our aviation program. So we actually teach flying up to commercial aviation level, as well as actually aviation management at an undergraduate and postgraduate level. In addition to that, we have an optometry school, the only one in New South Wales. We also have a very strong psychology program at an undergraduate and postgraduate level. And we also have a very interesting material science degree where people will end up with an engineering degree after doing an undergraduate program, or also coming in and concentrating in materials after doing an undergraduate engineering program. We're quite interesting in the research space. We have quite a few lead institutes from the Research Council, which means it's completely funded by the Australian government to be a leader in the areas. One of those in particular is our climate system science, which works across biology and also across maths to look at how we're actually dealing with some of climate science's big problems and also forecasting into the future as to how the world will actually deal with climate change. We also have a very interesting quantum computing and communication technologies program, which is just amazing in the facilities that they have available. It's very multinational in the way that they deal with some of the problems of the future, and the fact that they have researchers coming from all around the world and all around Australia to actually work in this space. We also have cooperative research centres in environmental biology, bushfires. We do a lot within the marine sciences area, in particular surf science. Composite structures is another area. We're also looking at the recycling of different materials and if we can reuse them in innovative environments, and that's across environmental studies as well as material science. And we also have bases in all sorts of different areas like traffic and road safety, which is based in our aviation school, gene function analysis, which is based in our biological sciences area. So as you can see, we're a very, very diverse faculty, and we have all sorts of very interesting areas that we teach and research into. We're very much, actually, Kim, if you mind moving on to the next slide, thanks. All of our teaching and our undergraduate programs as well as our postgraduate programs are really based around where we're researching. We've realised that our research strengths really do feed through into the things that we teach within the classroom. So every student that will come into a program in science will have the ability to actually do some research outside the classroom to be able to really test themselves in the areas that we're world leaders in research. So all of the areas that we teach in the postgraduate level are very much coursework based, but you will have the opportunity to actually take some classes or take some research for credit outside of that. Or if you really just want to sit in the classroom and just look at the research, that's also a possibility. I want to go through some of our coursework options that we have in postgraduate in science. The first is a Masters of Technology in Aviation. So that program is actually coming through and teaching students to be able to be in an aviation management environment. That is all online, so you can actually take that from the US if you don't wish to get on a plane. However, aviation students you would think would love to get on a plane and come down. We also have spatial information. We have a very large suite of mathematics programs, of which I'm going to concentrate a little bit on today. We have a Masters in Optometry, of which is for students that have already completed an undergraduate degree to be able to practice as an optometrist, to be able to actually specialise in different areas. We also have a Community Eye Health program in optometry, which is based half in Australia and half in India. So the idea is we're actually educating those that wish to work in an environment outside of optometry, more in the public health environment of optometry, to be able to assist patients and others, or also public policy, to be able to actually contribute to that very interesting area of development. We also have organisational psychology, clinical and forensic psychology as a postgraduate program. In order to get into that program, you need to have completed a 4-year program in psychology with a 1-year research placement. So it is very specific. However, we do always have students that will come through, and if you're interested to take psychology, we can always assist you through that process through GlobaLinks assistance, of course, to make sure that you've got the requirements to be able to meet the entrance into that program and succeed as a psychologist in the future. We also have the fantastic program of environmental management. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in just a little while. Marine science and management, again, is another area I'm going to concentrate a little bit more on. And then engineering materials is our postgraduate program on top of our undergraduate issue that we do in material science to work specifically with the way that we create everything for the future. So it's dealing with the smallest to the largest materials and how it can be innovative in creating different environments. And then our research suite of programs are available across everything that we teach at a course graduate level. Do you want to move on there, Kim? Thanks. Okay, so the first area I'm going to talk specifically about is what we call bees here in Australia. One thing about Australia is we love to make everything short. It's not that we're lazy, it's just that we're very colloquial. So while it takes a long time for us to say biological, earth and environmental sciences, in Sydney and here at the University of New South Wales Science, we call them bees. They deal with bees, so it makes complete sense in our mind. Biological sciences actually teaches into all sorts of very different areas. At an undergraduate and a research level, we do things from as diverse as biology to zoology. We also deal with marine science, which is based in this school. And also our climate change research is based a little bit in bees, or also in our maths area as well specifically. We have a couple of different areas that we teach specifically into for postgraduate in this school. The first is our PhD areas, of which we teach and have students taking different doing research into all of the areas that we teach. So that could be biological sciences, geography is also based in this area, and that will of course have a lot of indications and interactions, with our maths area. Environmental policy and management, our institute is based within bees. You have two options to take research, or three options really to take research within the science faculty here at UNSW. The first is if you don't have a research experience in your undergraduate program, so if you haven't done a complete year of honours work, you're eligible to come in and study with us as a Masters of Philosophy, which would allow you to learn the research skills to be able to go into a research future and potentially use that for entrance into a Masters of Science by Research. Now this is a 2 to 3 year program depending on what your program is and what you're actually doing in the research sphere, where you'll actually specifically research one topic with one supervisor. Many people look at this as the first entrance to be able to do a postgraduate PhD. And that will allow you to go completely into the research space. A little difference between doing a PhD in the US than it is to do it in Australia is the fact that it is completely research based. So you will be working on one topic for the whole of the program that you're actually doing. So it's very intensive and a great way of preparing you to be able to go into a specific research environment in the future. So if you want to end up in an academic space and teaching or researching into the future. But what I'm going to talk to you about today specifically is our fantastic coursework programs that we have available in bees. The first I want to talk to you about is our Marine Science and Management program. Now this is a very specific program and really different in the way that it's taught, in the fact that there are quite a few Sydney-based institutions that are actually teaching into this Masters program. So we're based at SIMS. Again, I said Australians like to make everything small and use acronyms as much as humanly possible. SIMS is the Sydney Institute of Marine Science. This is actually based on Sydney Harbour. I walked past it on a walk that I did with a friend on the weekend, and it's in an absolutely beautiful part of the world. Based on Sydney Harbour in the North Shore, if you've been to Sydney and you know the little areas, very close to the zoo, and has an absolutely amazing view of the city. But you'd feel like that you're in the middle of nowhere, in the fact that you're on a very green space, on the water, on the biggest harbour-based city, basically, and the biggest harbour that we have in the world. The reason SIMS was created was to use the different and varied ecosystems based on Sydney Harbour to be as a research space. So they have many, many facilities that are paid for by the New South Wales and Australian governments, and also the institutions that are associated with SIMS. So that is University of New South Wales, of course, Macquarie University, University of Sydney, and University of Technology, Sydney. All of those institutions actually teach a Masters in Marine Science. But as a student, you can choose which institution you wish to be associated with in order to be awarded that degree. So you've got a choice of fantastic places and fantastic professors to be able to learn from, but they're all working collaboratively, within SIMS with their research space and also their teaching. So you'll meet people from all around the world and all of the different institutions as a result of doing this degree. You can see a couple of the photos there. You'll have the one that's on the water there is the whole institute. A percentage of your teaching will be done at our main campus in Kensington that Ashley told you about before, but also a lot of your research and teaching space engagement will be done at SIMS as well. So you can see the really sexy green chairs there. That's one of the smaller lecture theatres that are actually based at SIMS. They also have fantastic, almost brand new facilities in the form of a brand new aquarium that has something crazy like over 50 different spaces where they can bring in materials. They filter the water the whole time, so you'll actually have ecosystems created on the SIMS campus, and then you'll go out, go diving, and see those ecosystems in their real environments. There is a lot of different teaching and research that they do from SIMS in very, very varied areas. I'm going to ask him to go forward and actually show the first of the videos that we have, so you can see one of our professors and in the environment that she works within. So hopefully it works.
Sorry, it's going and it's on my screen.
It's good, isn't it, Kim?
It's really great. It's a great video, and I will send it to everyone in our email tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Okay, let me quickly get back to your slide.
Excellent.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Shoot. Okay. Okay, there you go.
There we go. So
Sorry, guys.
The video that you'll see a little bit later on is of Emma Johnson, who was recently awarded the Australian Academy of Science Nancy Mills Award for Women in Science, which is the #1 award in Australia for women that are actually doing really interesting stuff in sciences. She is a really interesting lady, teaches a lot of our programs, does a lot of very interesting research, including research down in Antarctica as to the effect of climate change on different ecosystems, marine ecosystems down there. She's also actually recently been one of the presenters in a UK program which is called COAST, which went all around Australia. It also has done different versions in the UK as well, looking at from history to now and how different people and different communities have actually influenced our coastal environments. Really, really engaging, excellent researcher, and you will, if you take this course, be engaged with her on a day-to-day basis. Another one of our really interesting professors in our marine science area is Dr. Rob Miranda, or Associate Professor, of course. He is what we call Dr. Rip. He's a really interesting Canadian who will come in and actually work with local environments to teach people surf safety. You'll see when you come to Australia that learning how not to get smashed by waves or taken out into the water and go and swim to New Zealand because you're stuck in what we call a rip is a really big part of our life, because we have to make sure that we actually use our local environment effectively and know how to protect ourselves in very large surf. So what Rob has been doing is actually looking how we can identify rips on a beach so we're very safe in making sure that we swim in an environment that won't kill us. Not that that happens at every beach in Australia, I've got to say, but it is one thing that we need to learn a lot about. So Rob's research has been looking at coastal environments and how to actually translate that to the normal people, so like myself, where we can actually learn how to keep ourselves safe in that and use our local and beautiful environments for good, not evil. So these are the kind of people that will be teaching really great stuff within this program, and that you will have the potential to, if you wish to, do research with them in the future. Do you want to press next, please, Kim? So the next program I want to tell you about is our environmental management program. This is a program for people of all sorts of diverse undergraduate experiences to be able to come and do a master's, or 1.5 if you've done already a little bit of experience in environment, or 2 years duration. This program is really to create people that will be working in a policy or a management area of the environment into the future. So for example, when more and more governments are actually looking at the way that we deal with climate and the way that the different type of carbon pricing comes into place, and the way that we're actually able to work with society to make sure that we're contributing effectively and in a long-term conservation kind of process. This is the kind of degree that will give you that background. It does very interesting research, really great coursework, and it's a very collaborative small program where you can come together and work with people from all around the world that are super passionate about the way that we deal with waste management, the way that we deal with community to make sure that we sell them into the benefits of being really aware of the environment in the future. One of the photos I have up there is Graciela. Graciela is the head of our environmental management program. She comes from a United Nations background, so she's worked in a policy environment at the highest level and has also been a researcher throughout her career in many different countries. So she leads a small team to bring people together to make sure that we're doing research and teaching into different areas that are very, very influential in the future in the environmental space. Also, that other very familiar face that you'll see there is David Suzuki. He was one of our recent presenters in a forum that we have in environmental management here at UNSW. So that's an example of the people that you'll be able to interact with when you take this degree. It is very exciting, very innovative, and one of those programs that I know that will be able to create opportunities for you in the future to be able to really contribute into the way that we're dealing with these future issues. Kim, do you want to press the next one? Okay, maths. Maths and stats is another one of our large areas that we teach here in the University of New South Wales Science program. We have 3 programs in particular that I'm going to talk to you about. We have, four programs. We have our Masters of Maths, also have a Masters of Financial Mathematics, a Masters of Statistics, and a Masters of Biostatistics. So these, our maths program is actually the largest in Australia and very well ranked. So these are people that are doing very, very interesting stuff in maths to be able to actually deal with and create opportunities for people in maths areas in the future. There's very diverse options that you have as a part of the maths program, but I must say that you need to have a little bit of maths experience before you take on this program. So if you're passionate about maths and have been doing a little bit of it throughout your undergraduate degree, or you've come and done a lot in high school and then branched off but want to come back, this may well be a very good option for you. The different themes of our maths programs really indicates where you want to end up in the future. So if you have an idea that you wish to work in a commercial environment and want to work with banks or other programs but don't want to do it within a business space, more an analytical space, then our Masters of Financial Mathematics would be a very good choice for you. Our Masters of Stats brings a lot of people that will be working in a governmental policy kind of background that wish to actually work with more geography from that context, but in the statistical option. Also, our Masters of Biostatistics brings a lot of people through that have done an undergraduate program, for example, in a pre-med environment, but wish to work more behind the scenes, less of the clinical kind of space. So this will create you a lot of opportunities to do things within management of medical environments, or also, again, in a lab-based space to be able to work with the systems behind the scenes. I'm going to press the next one, please, Kim. Okay, so to give you a little bit of an idea of the outcomes of these programs, I wanted to tell you a little bit about where our maths graduates are ending up. So we have a lot of people that be working in a governmental environment. We're either in a strategy or also in a security space, working in data forensics or fraud detection. We have a lot based in environmental modelling. Again, that's a lot of things that between the Bs, the biological sciences, and our climate change space, and our maths programs are engaged. Biostatistics, again, is another large area within a medical environment. Quantitative risk, so if people are coming together from a business environment and wish to work with risk in the way that we're actually able to forecast that into the future, that happens there. One of the really sexy spaces that our maths graduates end up in is in game development. So working with the systems and the IT systems behind the scenes, and also working with the way that they create the code is done through using maths graduates. And of course research. So because we have a very large school in maths, we keep a lot of our graduates from a postgraduate and an undergraduate perspective and bring them into PhDs or masters in the future to be able to work with within a research space here. It's one of the things within science is I think many people think the only option you have is to end up in research. And we've discovered that many of our students are in very, very diverse careers as a result of taking on a science undergraduate or postgraduate experience. So the world is kind of your oyster, which is a really interesting thing. Do you want to press the next one? Thanks, Kim. So we'll go through that one. Very lovely picture of one of our professors that does research. I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of our maths research that we're doing. Dr. Chris Tisdale is actually one of our, just yesterday, interestingly enough, nominated as our Associate Dean of Research and Education. So he's very good at working with people from an undergraduate and postgraduate perspective to assist them through the pastoral care of learning and teaching in the science area. So we're very excited to have him in that position. But if you're coming into the science teaching space, Chris is actually one of our excellent professors. He's been one of those people that has broken into normal society and talking about maths. He has a huge YouTube following. He has over 500 YouTube videos where he actually breaks down normal and different maths situations at a university level, but also a high school level, and actually does specific teaching in those areas. He has over 3.6 million downloads, so he's very well known and also does very, very interesting research in different areas, including maths education, which I must say is one of his super passions. In our maths program here at the University of New South Wales, we're very, very keen to make sure that we're actually bringing more people through within maths education at a high school level. One of the problems we have in Australia is we just don't have enough maths teachers. We're slowly, not dumbing down, but we're really working back to not take on as much maths at a high school level because it seems a little scary. So we're trying to break down those issues, work with local communities, work with local schools to make sure they know and that we're producing enough maths teachers into the future. So if you are interested in taking maths to take on kind of a maths teacher's role in the future, it's a very good time to come to Australia because you've got a lot of opportunities to be able to actually do that kind of experience out there in the schools. Now, on a completely different level, I wanted to tell you about one of our research and community spaces that we have, which is the Australian Centre for Commercial Mathematics. We've created this for small to large businesses to come and bring their problems that they wouldn't get assistance from in-house, or that different, what are they called? Consultants wouldn't be able to create. So they'd be able to use our math systems and our huge amount of computing power to solve some of their future issues. So we have people from governmental, for example, defence or transport. We also have some of the banks coming to us looking at some of their future issues. And we crunch those numbers, provide that assistance, and also provide our students access to them in the future. So our students will work with these problems to be able to solve them so the local community knows, and also those businesses know, that our maths graduates are the best in the world because they've seen them apply these skills. So that's some of the stuff we do in the maths space. But I've talked lots and lots, so I want to make sure that I give you guys all an opportunity to ask lots of questions. I wanted to show you some of our sexy people in our science office that will provide all sorts of assistance. Aren't they lovely? They're very friendly people, so I wanted to make sure you all knew that they existed. But I'll open it up to Kim and questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Kate. That was wonderful. Sorry again about the technical difficulties with the video.
I haven't
really hoping that was.
Yet, that's all. It's on Australian time.
I was really thinking it was going to work, but I will send the videos to everyone because I do have them. So as I kind of mentioned, we're going to go through some questions and answers. So we've already had a few students send through some questions. The first question someone sent is, can I use financial aid? And I'm assuming we want to talk both about Canadian and U.S.
Absolutely. I might bring Ashley in here so she can give you a US perspective, but it's definitely available.
Mm-hmm. Hello again. Yes, you can absolutely, for all of these science programs, Faculty of Science apply for FAFSA just as you would to a U.S. institution. And you can go to our international website and it talks you through exactly how to go about and that process and do that. Or you can get in touch with me and I'll happily do that as well.
Great. And another question came through about the prerequisites for math.
Yes, yes. So while we're looking to convert people to mathematics, you do need, in order to cope at a postgraduate level, a little bit or a fair amount of a mathematics experience as a part of your undergraduate degree. So it's really great if you've done quite a substantial amount of very specific math credit at the end of your program in the US to be able to actually qualify for the program. And you need to have at least a 65% average. That's a good high 2.93 within your maths credit to be able to actually get admission into that program. One thing we've seen in the past is quite a lot of engineers that wish to go into maths in the future. They might have wanted to stick specifically to their engineering mathematics, but unfortunately that's not mathematical enough for admission into those programs. So if you are at the point in your program now where you're a little earlier on, say you're a sophomore or others, and you've got the opportunity to specialize in the math options instead of doing the engineering math stuff, if your undergraduate program allows that, I would heavily suggest that would be a very good option for you to switch into the fully math areas instead.
So, Kate, if a student is a math major for undergraduate, what do you think the highest level of math would be that they need to complete?
I would say that doesn't need to be very specific in the areas that they learn, but as long as in the final 1.5 years they've done at least 3 classes that are specifically math focused at a senior level, then they're going to be fine.
Okay, great. So those 300 and 400 level classes. Great.
Key. Absolutely key, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Another question came through about student housing. Is there student housing?
Yes, there's lots of wonderful, beautiful, brand new student housing at UNSW. So in 2013, we opened the University Terraces, which are apartments, usually studio style, with a kitchenette and a bathroom in them. Below them, there's a grocery store and all sorts of delicious restaurants that I'm sure Kate eats at a regular basis.
Too much.
Coffee shops, sandwich shop, burrito shop, and a variety. And then you're also not too far from another grocery store in the area, the Coogee Beach area as well. And then we also do have the residential colleges that tend to be a bit more undergraduate, but those opened up just this January as well. And then there's quite a few other on-campus options as well. Those are our 2 newest, but we do have a wide variety of housing throughout the campus. We can have up to 5,000 students on campus now, which is really exciting because that's also created quite a nice campus culture, a little bit of an evening culture as well, not just during the day. There's some restaurants and bars and things on campus that students can go to, so if they don't want to venture too far from home, they don't have to.
Great. We just had another question come in about maybe talking a little more about the prerequisites for science. Are they as strict as math, or are they pretty standard if you have a science degree?
You know what, even for marine science, they do like to see that you have a science degree. It'd be great if you've done some marine stuff, but it's not a requirement for admission into that program. For environmental management, you don't need a science background. If you have some environmental experience or science background, you may well get some credit. So this is why I said that it can be either 1.5 years or 2 years in duration. Because if they do see that you've got some experience already, you can ask for some of that to actually decrease the duration. One thing I want to say about that, though, is if you do take the 2 years, even if you have some environmental science background, there's an option for you to take a lot of research within the coursework program, and they would be very happy if you succeed well in that research space to move you directly into a PhD program. So it's a very good opportunity to fast-track entrance into a PhD if you have a specific area that you're really interested to research. Or if you find early on in the program that you have a passion, that you've found someone that you really want to work with, then they can actually tailor your degree or tailor your 2-year master's program to make sure that that research is a very big part of your second year and that you can work towards getting admission into the PhD afterwards. So if you do have a science background, great. If you don't, great, for environmental management anyway. If you're looking to get into the other programs programs that we have available that aren't coursework focused, then obviously you're going to need to have a supervisor already that will be research environment that has already accepted you into their program, and you will naturally already have a science background for that.
I'm just going to quickly piggyback, sorry Kim, on the other benefit to the 2-year program is actually with your visa. If the Australian government will grant you an extension on your visa. If you complete a 2-year program, a 2-year master's, you can stay on for another 2 years, and that allows you to apply for permanent residency. It doesn't guarantee you'll get permanent residency, but if you don't do a 2-year program, you aren't able to stay in Australia on your student visa. So you don't have to get another visa or do anything different if you complete that 2 years. So that's another bonus that some people, even though they might already have that background, would like to go ahead and do it if they're hoping to stick around in Australia when they finish their degree.
That's great. Now, another question about the science programs. Do you see a lot of students going from the science coursework to the PhD? Is that pretty typical for students?
Not for coursework to PhD, no.
Okay.
It's really something where people have an undergraduate. Our system in Australia is a little different in the fact that people will do a 3-year undergraduate degree, and then if they wish to go into research in the future, will choose to do a 1-year full-time honours research program. Now, obviously, the US system is not the same. So what many people will do is bring their undergraduate experience into either doing that honours year, which you're eligible to do, or doing a Masters of Research, and then specialising in that research program. So converting from coursework programs into research is something that's not done traditionally in sciences anyway in Australia, because it's sitting in a classroom in opposition to research. That's why the option that you have in environmental management is very different, because they do see that they want to bring people through without a science background into research, into policy and other programs. They have designed it so that you get enough research experience in that coursework program. However, if you come to Australia, you start your coursework program, you see that you've got a super passion and wish to continue within the research space, then you are face-to-face with people that you want to sell yourself to take you into a research space into the future. So they can mentor you into the Masters by Research, and then complete that, transfer that into your PhD, and that will decrease the duration of your PhD as well, because you already would have started the research procedure within the Masters program. So it is very common, actually, to tell you the truth, to start off within a coursework program, find that you've got a super passion in one area, and then convert into research into the future. There's also quite a lot of scholarship within the research space as well in comparison to the availability of scholarship within an undergraduate area. So if you're here, you've started your coursework and you see a professor that has some scholarship money available, you're going to be in a much better space to be eligible for that scholarship than you are with someone that is actually trying to do that from the US.
That's wonderful. Great. Well, we just have a couple more questions. So kind of back to the environmental management, a student asked what the class size is and kind of what the structure is. I know we talked a bit about the coursework, so.
Yep. So the class size for that program is small in comparison to what you're probably used to in different areas. We have, per year that start in that, we have about between 35 and 40 students enrolled in that degree. And that will break down into different areas across all of the spaces. So if you're in a class that actually doesn't have much lab work or much experiential stuff, you will have about 30 people in that class that will break down into different seminars. So it's a smaller space and smaller amount of students that are in those seminars. Otherwise, if you're in an environmental space where it actually has some sort of lab environment, then that will break down even further, up to 15 people based in that lab space. So, and the way that the program is actually structured is actually quite diverse. So when you come into the program, there is the core subjects that you need to take in order to be able to specialise in that program. So you start with everybody, and then from there you identify which areas you're particularly interested in, and you will take electives towards that degree. So for example, if you find when you arrive here that you're super passionate about waste management and wish to work specifically towards that, then you would take the coursework areas in waste management and also the complementary areas within policy, for example, that you will take in those areas. And then from there, if you're super passionate even more about that waste management area, you'd go into the research space in that to be able to get that credit towards it. So that's an example of how it works. Because it is small, because they're very, very great professors within that program, they will customise your program based on your interests. So you can specialise out, you can have a very diverse and wide non-specialist degree within environment if you wish to not concentrate in one area, or you can be very, very specific.
Great. Do you find that students typically work during their program? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. The visa structure coming in as a student allows you to work either 20 hours a week or 40 hours a fortnight, which is the 2-week period. And you can spread your hours across all of that. Postgraduate students and undergraduate students actually in Australia, I would say the majority actually have a part-time job to be able to actually work in addition. If you're funded well and you don't have a need to work, then excellent, great. But getting a job in Australia allows you to actually meet people outside the classroom. We're very, very social in a work environment in Australia, so you'll meet lots of interesting people. And this is the thing in North America that gets very exciting. Our minimum wage is much, much higher than you're used to in the US. I think our minimum wage recently was up around $17 an hour. That is why, and this is why I always say, whenever I talk to a North American, we do not tip, because people are paid very, very well. And as a result, you don't need to actually tip them for doing the kind of service that they're doing. And the other thing to remember is we have things called penalty rates. So if you're working, for example, at a supermarket on a weekend, you'd think, great, I'm stacking shelves. This is not something that's helping my brain, but I'm stacking shelves. I'm making $17 an hour to do this, but I'm working on a Sunday, so I get double time. So you're paid twice $17 an hour. So you're in an environment where you're being paid very well, you can work that small amount and be able to actually subsidise living in Sydney, which can be very, very expensive. So that's why the majority of our students will actually be working part-time.
And even better is if school is not in session, those hours are unlimited, actually. So the limits are only during the school year, during summer or holidays. You can work as much as you can get somebody to hire you for.
Wonderful. Well, I think those were I think I got through all the questions that students sent through. So thank you everyone for submitting your questions, and thank you Kate for a lovely presentation, and thank you Ashley for introducing us to the University of New South Wales. Like I said, we have been recording this webinar, so I will make sure to send you send everyone a copy of the recording, and then I'll also include the YouTube videos that Kate was hoping to show us. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we had some issues. So we will send those through for everyone, and thank you again to Ashley and Kate, and we hope to see your application soon. Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye.